Okay, go ahead.
If you like. So with those costs and revenues, you know, you always want to make sure you're not running a deficit as far as the general structure, but, you know, this has been going on for a long time. And accumulating 10, 15,000, 20, 30,000, 40, 50,000 some years and, you know, positive outcomes piles up. The other thing with utilities is it's misconceiving if you look at the fund balance and assume that's cash, because it's not. It's utility assets, which is cash and the value of the land and the value of the improvements that went into making those serviceable utilities. So, but there's significant resources that have piled up over the years in our parking utility. With, again,
What's the cash value?
with the change, with more and more parking being allowed on the streets, and with the lack of, apparent lack of interest in acquiring additional facilities, I just bring it to the board that this is an opportunity to evaluate how you'd like to advise staff to administer the utility from a technical perspective. And again, at this point, it's almost net neutral, but again, it has implications moving forward as we talk about additional on-street parking opportunities of various types, not only permitted, but potential parking meters or what have you, that we'd seek guidance from the board on that matter.
So, sorry, and then did someone have a? Okay. So one of the things that the balance is supposed to be used for is maintenance of our lots. I believe we have 3, is that correct, Trustee Maher?
Parking utility owns 3 lots.
Okay, and when was the last time they were maintained, or like overlays or reconstructed, similar to like Hubbard Park? They're
I
not.
think the last overlay was in 2012 on one of the lots. I have to check my fiscal records.
So I'm just concerned because if, I don't know what that cash balance is, I remember now that yes, some of that million or 750 is the value of the property that in the utility, but do you know offhand what the cash value is?
Yeah, it's a long-range plan. I put that below the little red line because that's, again, I hope it provides additional clarity. 2018 projected cash balance is $400,000.
So is $400,000, I'm sure you've talked to DPW, but is that enough to resurface our 3 lots?
Yes.
Because just a resurfacing of the roads, like if you go all the way to the.
Lots are like 30-foot road sections, so it's really,
Do you know?
the mobilization and research. I don't have cost estimates, but I'm certain that's sufficient to resurface lots.
Trustee Amenta? Oh, Trustee Maher?
Yeah, I was just confused about what, we have what permits we're talking about, because we have the overnight, one night overnight fee with the RCA, I forget what it stands for, and we have hardship, right?
And we have the open permits and the Capitol Drive permits and the Wilson Drive permits.
And are those are landlords buy them? Like, can someone come in off the street and then buy a permit to park on Oakland, Capitol, or Wilson?
Landlords, property owners,
Only if there's a hardship.
my general, for the open stuff is that those
The landlords.
were developed under a plan with the prospective eligible property owners at the time on whether they would want to buy those, so that's the status of that. Only again individual hardships with a separate person be able to buy those, because there's limit. We sell those in limits because there's limited parking on those streets. Right now, we don't want to push anybody into the residential zone, so they're taken.
But if you get a hardship and you live more than a certain number of blocks,
Parking
or
only.
you park.
Correct.
But if you live
Pay the
close
permit.
and you get a hardship, then you're told to park at Oakland Capitol, right?
No. So you're told to park within, if you're within, so for instance, my house, if I go and say my garage only fits one car, and they confirm that, then I have a hardship. And so, because we have two cars, if you live within, I don't know if it's a block and a half or 2 blocks from a parking lot, then you are required to use that lot. They will not issue you a permit to park on the street.
Okay, so my point is though, it's
But you-
overnight parking fees for the $2 that we used to have, the $2 fee, it's the RCA $10 a year fee. It's hardship, and it's Oakland, Hackle, and Wilson.
That's correct.
Yes, it's all on street parking. And, yeah, that encompasses all of it.
Pretty sure. And I have done the analysis on the parking utility side. Parking utility is still projected to be solvent at that, with that separation, just based on
I don't,
current lot sales and current costs.
what's the point of having the utility? So help me here understand, because I'm sure there's some benefits, so just keep that in mind if that's my first point of the question. My second part is, we're gonna probably be, at some point, faced with the question of if people build, a private developer wants to build and provide public parking in a structure, would we participate financially? Can you utilize that parking utility fund to do that, or does it have to go through a TID?
No, we've done that.
Right? So what are the benefits of the utility? Like, why do we have a parking utility?
Again, to accumulate assets for either future acquisition or maintenance of existing facilities.
So to
So
pay
if
for
somebody,
money, then we,
developer came in and there was no TID, for example,
right, we have cash
which is pretty much
instead of bonding, right?
where we're at, then we'd have to come up with an arrangement, and either we borrow funds to make our contribution for public parking, for which the utility would then have to pay.
Yep.
Or we would, if it's a modest sized project, we would potentially have some cash reserves. But again, parking lots are pretty low use, and if they're done properly, you only need to be resurfaced periodically, but
Isn't it like every 20 years?
I hesitate to.
I just was reading about it, I would be good to
Not
know.
every 5 years, so again, the fact that we haven't had a resurfacing since I've been here doesn't surprise me, but we have funds there so that when resurfacing is needed, it doesn't become an annual budget item for the board to consider that competes with, other needs of the community. The parking utility has those funds available.
And I had asked previously to Mark, could we use those funds to redo Hubbard parking lot? Which I think we should, but the reservation that Mark has is we only sell, even though 30 permits are available for the river park, for that parking lot at Hubbard, to the public, we only do 5, I think, at the most. So he found it wasn't a significant number where it would justify it. I still have doubts about that. I get that it looks a little fishy, but we are selling public spaces there, so I don't know why we can't utilize some funds out of that. Trustee Marner?
We earlier said we're going to be studying parking in the coming year. This is kind of all tied into the parking and how we're going to manage the parking, or is there going to be out on street parking at different times. When part of this might be a parking study in the central district, and up toward the north end, we've always been short. So they may want some funds to actually create some parking. There may be some needs. And also, if you're going to have these, if we were to go with meters, there's an initial upfront cost to these meters. So the capital to invest initially might be. So I'm not sure at this point we really need to decide this. When we get into the budget process and we know all the pieces, what the 60,000 is going to do to our budget is then maybe decide if we want to tinker with it or move parts of this out.
Thank you. And Trustee McCabe may know from CDA when we were on it together, I can't remember which year, but they actually did propose, at some point, purchasing a space that was coming up for sale for additional parking. I think it was a $500,000 cost. I don't think the CDA had an interest at that moment, but I just wanted to throw it out there that it's not like within the last 3 years, we haven't had that discussion. So I think I'm with Trustee Maher. If we get into the budget and it looks like we don't have enough general fund, without raising property taxes, maybe we evaluate it at that point. Unless, Mark, there's something that's pressing that we don't know about that we can decide tonight?
Not necessarily. Again, I guess staff's hope was that we presented the board with a variety of opportunities to consider diversification of funding that would ultimately make the expenditure side of this discussion a little better framed.
It's hard to
But-
go without the other side.
But that's where the board goes, that's where the board goes. This is, at this point, again, since the $2 fee has been taken out of the fee schedule, this is relatively speaking budget neutral. It becomes still a philosophical discussion, which is really more how this was framed anyways, but it was also a revenue issue, so I brought it forth in that context.
Can you just, if you guys have been preparing the budget, we have not seen the budget, nor have we talked about expenses and then any type of reduction at this moment. So with the two of you who know what we're heading into, is there something, a reason why the board should be considering doing this at this moment? Is there a fiscal reason?
Well, the memo that was presented on Monday outlined $700,000 of expenditure increases. From your motion earlier, you're gonna probably have another 40 or 50 on top of the
But what does
already
that equate
budgeted
to
parking
as a
transportation.
what tax
So-
rate is that? I mean, like, what does that equate to? I don't know, every year costs go up. We've never had a nice chart, which I thank you very much, but I don't know what that
It's like
equates to.
6%,
So it's like a 6% tax increase, is that
but
what you're
that's
saying?
in isolation of all the other minutia within the budget. You know, so, again, that's one of the reasons I don't frame it that way, and I give it as a broad context, is because, you know, we talked about, in summary, 12 lines in the budget, out of 1,000, so.
Well,
Now, most of the other ones are smaller, I mean, let's be honest about that, right? But that's a general context you're gonna see. You're gonna see a budget come in that's likely to be in that magnitude. Staff will present service cuts in magnitudes by and large of $50,000 to $100,000 or more to make any meaningful dent in that. And absent, you know, that's the framework that you're gonna come into the budget cycle with then. Well, I mean, we have made some adoptions of a few things here, we'll back all that in as well, but
I mean, and I have other things, as we go through the budget process, that for increasing revenues as well, that we didn't talk about. I mean, crossing guards, I talked to the league, and about 20 of the people share the cost of the schools 50-50. So I'm just saying, there's an example, but I do have other ideas, and that's why I'm hesitant, because I don't have all the information you guys have, nor know what that means.
I don't have all the information yet either. I mean,
Okay,
we're
yeah, I know.
still working on it.
Yeah,
Trustee
given
Benton.
the time, can we, I'm not sure if anyone's interested in making a motion, and I think we just keep it in our back pocket for the budget, and I'd like to, or I'll make a motion to defer this until, for the budget discussions. Just so we can move on.
And I'll definitely vote yet any further discussion. I just want to, when you bring it to budgets, can you just provide us, or maybe through an email, just Leanne could provide us with when those parking lots need to be resurfaced or reconstructed, and then what that cost is. So
Yeah,
we have
usually
that.
when they deteriorate below a certain point, which is, again, in a parking lot, you know,
But
could
could
be
you
10 years,
just
could be
check-
20.
But
I can
Leanne,
ask.
yeah, I mean, we do road pavement every year for the state, so evaluation and metrics. Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? You seconded it? Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Right? The next item that we have is to create a refuge collection. Did we already do this?
Yeah.
Yes, never mind. We took them out of order. So introductory to the long-range financial plan. Before we move forward with that item, I just want to check in with the board. It is about 9:30. Is everyone comfortable with staying past 9:30? We may have to
If there's
schedule an
any
additional special
questions,
meeting.
for me to do it, I'd like to do a thorough job.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a reason, and it's a very complex document, I mean, you know, I would say it's gonna take an hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me just rephrase this because I'm struggling with the board, okay? So I need input. We don't want to stay past a certain time. We will be scheduling a second special meeting in addition to the one we just scheduled to get through it if we don't stay tonight. So we have the choice of staying later, letting you do the introduction, or we can schedule an additional meeting. It's going to take 2 meetings. Tonight, we were going to get the initial presentation for an hour, hour and a half with questions, and then the second meeting was going to be an additional date that we just created. But if we defer this item tonight, then we will need to find some time to be able to do that, because one session is not going to cut it.
I thought we were just having a presentation and not doing questions. We're just getting the presentation
We
tonight.
can do that.
You can do that.
So that's my question to you. We can do that too, but it would be past 9:30. It might be, 10:30.
But it's also my recollection from a discussion on Saturday is if it's 2 hours without having to do
That's
this,
right.
3 hours,
We're
if
gonna
we
need
had
another.
to defer that, so again,
All I'm saying is I
I
can,
more than 2 hours for our
Right.
discussion about the long term.
right.
I'm here.
So it's up to the board. I struggle because I understand people want to go home, but then I also understand nobody wants to make additional meetings. So help me out here and let me know what you prefer.
I am exhausted.